Hey everybody, so I just want to hop right on into it. I want to talk about shadow work and my experience with shadow work and some thoughts on the shadow. Now lately I have been seeing a lot of people talk about doing shadow work in the spiritual community, and I have come to find that a lot of people don't have the same interpretation when it comes to doing shadow work. And I just want to share my perspective from my experience and working with shadow. And I'm also approaching this from experiences I've had, which had in a way forced me to deal with my shadow. When I am on social media and I hear a lot of people talk about shadow work, I do get this sense that a lot of people tend to look at the shadow as something that is negative or something that needs healing or blah 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 blah. From my experience, and the reason why this experience is unique was because, for those who may or may not know, I am intuitive. You can call me an empath, call me what you want. I just say I'm sensitive, and I've had experiences with dense energies that had the opportunity of manipulating my shadow, not because I want to, because it has some access. And this is a whole different, it's a long story. So to make a long story short, for a long time, for a while, I remember I was living in DC. I was looking for work. Now, keep in mind, I have a master's degree. And after graduating, I just could not find work. I had the background, I was working. I was simply looking for a job, a career, in which I could support myself. At least make more than $13, $14, or $15 an hour. And for me, that was cheap. But I wanted to start off somewhere. But getting back to what I was saying, I found myself going around trying to get my resume looked at. Everybody said my resume was perfect. They didn't understand how I was not able to even get an interview. I was not able to even get interviews. What ended up happening, I was sitting there to myself and I was like, well, something, you start feeling like something's wrong with you. Everybody think that that you're not doing enough, and sometimes you are. And then I overheard, I guess you said, my spirit guide or someone say, maybe it's not you. And I thought about it. I'm the type of person that believes in taking responsibility, or at least accountability, for one's actions. But in this instance or situation, I found that some things were out of my hand, and that the reason why I was experiencing certain things was not because of me. There were energies acting on my behalf that did not have my interests at heart. And so they were intentionally preventing me from actually being able to move forward in my life. They also had this ability of putting up a front and over the eyes of others, which is very interesting. So when I tell people that everything is not what it seems, especially on the other side. With that, once I started taking consideration that things were happening on that end, I started things started shifting and changing. Anything to uproot me, I was uprooted again. For those who don't know, in probably the past 9 or 10 years, I moved around several times, and it was always when I was getting close to being able to find a job and a career that would be best for me. It will always happen like that, like clockwork. So I did devise a plan. I devised the plan. I said, I see the little trend happening, and I didn't start seeing things come up until I moved to Baltimore. For those who may not know, if you live in Baltimore, that's a very dark city. I don't want to make anybody angry who lives there, but if you live in Baltimore City, it's pretty dark. And I found that the energy of Baltimore inverts dense energy, so anything that you are suppressing or not dealing with is going to come up to the surface, and it's going to come up to the surface where other energies can tow with you. with all that, a lot of people in Baltimore have told me that they see Baltimore as a place of purgatory. I've always been told, why are you doing here? And I never understood, but I believe it was the energies that we're dealing with that want to be there. It was not until then, not until I started dealing with this inversion of energy that Baltimore produces, that my shadow started coming up. But not only was my shadow coming up, I started seeing the energies that had some responsibility, not responsibility, but were responsible for the things I have been experiencing. So I was dealing with them head on. It was like the covers were just drawn off the cart, and everything was exposed. And I began to see and realize and understand why I couldn't move forward in my life. And I began to understand that my shadow was being manipulated. I was healing as I should have been, and certain energies were intentionally recreating those things so that it will create more like a distraction in my energy field. And sometimes these things will manifest into I like to call it light or conscious awareness or physical reality. Those things manifest. So I found myself manifesting a lot of negativity in my life, a lot of bad luck, a lot of crazy stuff because of these energies interacting with me on the shadow. That is when I began to really understand what it meant to have or be in a spiritual warfare. You don't really know spiritual warfare not until it is brought home, not until you have to deal with it face to face. And it's not something that it is something waged just one time and that's it. It is waged day in and day out. It happens during the day while you're awake, and especially at night when you go to sleep. And what my shadow has taught me, especially when working with my shadow, is that it's not necessarily negative. It's just a place where energy is suppressed. And just because energy is suppressed don't make it negative or that you're hiding something from yourself. No, it don't mean those things. I have come to realize that the conscious, the subconscious, and the shadow play a very important role in regards to being able to release suppressed material. And suppressed material, like again, is not always negative. It can actually be positive experiences. And from my understanding, the mind and the subconscious and the shadow recycles. And so things, so the shadow is supposed to come up, and anything that was here come there. It recycles, it filters. And anything you didn't deal with in one cycle of your life or one cycle of your mind will probably get recycled and then come back up sooner or later, or when there's time, or when life or the subconscious feels as though it's appropriate for it to come up. Sometimes I feel like, and this is coming from my own experiences, that what happens is that things get stuck, there's a block, and so things build up. And it's kind of like the shadow has, in a way, had to force things up, or the subconscious has to do it. And sometimes these blocks are intentionally placed there so that denser energies can kind of like play around in your shadow. One thing I learned in working with my shadow is that it is the things in the shadow that manipulate everything in, or most of the things in the light. Pretty much anything you feel, sense, or having the perceptions of are mostly coming from the subconscious and the shadow self. And I find that even though a lot of people look at the shadow as negative sometimes, not all the time, but that it is a very powerful place. If you can learn how to interact with your shadow, communicate with it, and learn how to bring healing to it. When I'm saying healing, I'm talking about learning how to integrate energy. And this also sometimes means learning self-therapeutic techniques, doing counseling and therapy on yourself, being a self-counselor, learning and knowing how to talk to yourself to bring things up. If you can do this, and learn how to integrate those energies, you will establish a very powerful connection, not only to your subconscious mind, but to your shadow. And it was during this time in my life where I was living in Baltimore that I discovered how to work and communicate with my mind. Moving on forward, I pretty much had to think 3 to 4 steps ahead in regards to dealing with these energies. And you have to keep in mind, these energies have more intel on what you're going to do or what you are expected to do. And so I also had to learn and bring understanding that I did not need to know everything. I told my spirit guys, it's okay if I don't know everything. I understand that I'm going to need faith. I'm going to need absolute trust in myself and know that I can get through anything, especially in dealing with these dense energies. So to make a long story short, I devised a plan. I made a sudden move that no one was expecting, just got hopped right on the bus and pulled off. And I did this periodically. Let me tell you something. When I said I was dealing with some energies that were trying to stop me, trying to make me not, I'm going to show you some of the, I'm going to tell you some of the experience that I had. Some of the experience that I had was I couldn't feel my emotions anymore. They had cut off my emotions. I couldn't sense, I couldn't feel. Did not have access to my intuition. The only thing I had access to was my physical body, my sensation, and I had to learn how to expand upon the sensitivity in my own physical body, and I exploited that. When that wasn't working, I saw them try to take me out. They were intentionally manifesting circumstances, situations in my shadow so that things can hurt me or harm me in my light. They were trying to kill me. And I found myself encountering people or things that had the potentiality of hurting me or harming me. Anything to cause me to stop moving. With that being said, I found myself moving to New York. I found myself having a job. I found myself being able to have enough money to support myself to get things straight. And I knew even then that that would be temporary. I knew in the long run that what I needed to do was establish my own business. As you can see, I have all of this. I'm manifesting all of this. I'm so happy because there's a lot of projects I'm going to be doing and want to do. But to make a long story short, as I expected, things did happen. But I'm content with it because from what I'm getting from my intuition is that I have the edge. And I'm proud. I'm happy. But all of this has just let me know and it's given me the experience and given me a closer relationship with my shadow self, my mind, my subconscious world, my archetypes. A lot of these days I've been communicating with the archetypes. I tell people your subconscious mind and your shadow have archetypes or architects, whatever you want to call it, and they play a major role in your life if you realize it or not. And I found that these energies outside can influence these archetypes and they can make things happen. I had to the other day talk to my inner child and communicate like, you're not moving. These energies are trying to uproot you because they don't want to see you move forward. You're not moving. You're staying here. You know, I had to talk to myself. I had to talk to my inner youth, my inner child, and let my inner child know that, you know, I understand that you like to play and you want to play, but first play here. And then in the future, maybe we can travel and explore and go different places. You see? So you also have to interact with different various aspects of yourself. You got to get to know you and to really wage this war. And I don't like to use the word war because I don't like being polar or living in that dualistic nature, because I believe in integration of those dualities and, you know, polarities. Polarity being more physical, but I believe in, I don't want to believe, but I like the idea of integration. I just like to state things from how I see it, and I see that there are energies that just don't want to see me succeed. I had some experiences where as I was moving ahead, I would hear these energies talk crap about me. You know, I'm giving you some example. They were like, you know, I don't want him to exist. I'll hear some stuff like that. I'll hear them cursing at me. Let me tell you something. From what I can describe, they seem more like they are demonic influences that have interdimensional technology. I have heard a lot of names for them. Look, I'm not going to give them credit for anything. I'm here today talking to you, and if you're dealing with these types of energies, I can definitely explore these things later. I can definitely explore these things in the future and how you can see through the tactics and move forward in your life. In regards to working with my shadow, I realized the most important thing to do in my life currently, now, and in the future, and moving forward, is moving forward, doing everything in my power to move forward. Don't rely. Look, there's going to be distractions that come out of nowhere. People come in and out of your life. They want to do whatever. You have to learn how to persevere and move forward despite, no matter what happens. Move forward in your mind and your thoughts and your feelings. If if you find that you can't move and you don't have the the excitement, get up, move forward, move forward, move forward. That is important. That is vital, especially if you are a creator and you like to create. So in that regards, when it comes to the shadow, you can definitely say that my shadow is my friend. A lot of interesting things that I explored in my shadow is that I'm very sexual, and that I definitely had to have a conversation with myself multiple times. Understand and bring about my my sexuality, my passions. I realized for me is that I kept a lot of that under wraps because I felt like it was a distraction. I didn't necessarily see it as bad, but it was a distraction. I suppressed it so I could move forward, but I realized that if I'm to move forward, I need to move forward with everything within me on board, moving forward, and that it's okay to have these feelings. And if it comes up, I will allow myself to experience it, to enjoy it. In this, I am learning how it is to be a human being, to truly be human, to experience the full capacity or potentiality of what it is to be human. And I find that as I embrace this, that there is a certain divinity, a divineness to this experience in which it comes to being a human, for the spirit and the higher mind and the shadow, for all to be able to express itself through the human body. This, what some people like to call the vessel, is a very unique and divine experience. So with that, I'm come to find that my shadow, my subconscious, everything is, it's a friend of mine. It's a lot of things are becoming integrated. I also am taking advantage of the dense energies that try to sabotage me every single day. But I'm taking advantage, and I'm seeing it as a way for me to get out of my own mind, out of what some people like to call ego. I don't look at ego as a bad thing, but it's definitely interesting when you have the potential to step in and out of your own ego when you need to, especially when making decisions. When working with dense energies, I had to learn how to step out and realize that my mind has been on this little circuit. Some of the things that I experienced with the dense energies is that they have this technology, I don't know, but they have this thing where they can implant a scenario or whatever in your shadow or your subconscious, and when you wake up, like your brain is like a computer, so when you waking up, it starts up like a program and it's running in the background. And as it's running in the background, you may not necessarily know. Sometimes you don't really know until it's too late, until it starts to really begin to manifest, but it could be manifesting and you don't even know it. So learning how to work with your own energy, stop and freeze and pause on your own energy and create your own movement in your own energy is what is vital. I would definitely say what is good with that is exercise and stretching, more so stretching, to release that, to bring a pause to that and create your own energy, allow your higher energies to come in. So I don't want to get too much into this. It's getting excited just talking about it, but I definitely wanted to talk about the shadow and my experience, and what you could possibly do. I would definitely advise a lot of people, if you are not dealing with this circumstance or situation, a good therapy or therapist or counselor would definitely help you. But if you find that you are dealing with the same thing I'm dealing with, learning self-therapy, learn to be your own therapist or counselor will also be vital, because you can go to a therapy or therapist all you want, but they still going to have access to doing certain things. And what I'm finding that is there are a lot of people who are being targeted in a way. So if you are looking at this video and you found you able to resonate with this, definitely like, subscribe, and comment below. I'm looking forward to doing more topics like this. For those who don't know, I like to cook, You know, I like to create. I like to go out and experience life, and I'll be doing more videos on those things as well. So again, if you enjoyed this video, I hope to see you again. Take care of yourself, take care of each other, and definitely in these times, move forward. So hope to see you again. Bye bye.